Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, is finally here, and I know it's been through development hell for over the past, 6, 7, 8 years. It was in Warner Brothers initially, and you know me being a DC fan and all that other BS, you know how the development and that whole process can be convoluted and just horrible. It's trash. But it finally went over to Blumhouse, and we finally have the movie, and I know a lot of fans have been waiting for it. And you know what? For this film, I actually have a lot of connection to it. And let me explain what I mean by that. I am a father, of course, and I have two kids. My daughter's 19 and off to college, and my son's 17. And my daughter is the one who introduced me to Five Nights at Freddy's back in 2014. She told me all about the game. She was really into it. We had all the plush toys, the posters, and I would watch the Markiplier play along videos. And I know that Markiplier got, I think it's called the 520, where he went through all 5 nights. He got the golden bear. So I knew of the mythology. I wasn't an expert in it, but I was very familiar of what Five Nights was. I knew what Chica was and all the other characters, the marionette. So I owe it to my daughter and my son, but especially my daughter, to teach me about Five Nights at Freddy's. So I knew of its dark history. I knew of the kids, the bite of '83, all those things. So I was excited to see this movie, but I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting it to be an incredibly terrifying, bloody, gory movie that was going to be disturbing. I actually didn't know what to expect, but I knew the demographic, and this movie wasn't made for me. It's made for people like my daughter's age, people who were just teenagers a few years ago. So it's anybody more or less 25 and under. This is who the movie's made for. And I walked in with that expectation, not expecting much. And I have to say, I was very impressed with this film. A troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During his first night on the job, he realizes the night shift won't be as easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what is actually happening at Freddy's. There were many times in the movie where I looked at my son and I'm like, I'm impressed. This looks good. Arguably, and this is up for discussion, this may be the best video game adaptation we've had so far. I mean, I would still say Silent Hill, in my opinion, is the best video game adaptation, but this is definitely top 3. Again, what do you think? Right off the bat, the one thing that really impressed me was a head character, Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson. And I know I've seen him in Hunger Games and other movies, but his performance really impressed the hell out of me, because again, you're walking in expecting this to kind of be a slapstick, funny, I'm not going to take the material seriously performance, but his character came with a lot of emotional tragedy and weight. We are reliving his trauma through dream sequences where he lost his brother. He was in charge of his brother. He was told to watch him, but his brother ultimately got kidnapped. And now as an adult, he's still pondering on what happened, and he can't let go of this guilt as an adult. And that guilt carries over with some of his employment mistakes, as they kind of speak to in the movie. But again, the performance was great, and the backstory was tragic, and it was spoken to in a serious tone. And we're all used to these type of jokes, like, in the Marvel movies, again, not the early ones, but whenever something traumatic and horrible happens to somebody, it's usually just let go with a silly joke. And this was totally opposite of that. And I think that was very refreshing to me as a moviegoer. And of course, Matthew Lillard, he's always great. And again, without giving too many spoilers away, his presence on screen is always valuable. And I always love seeing what he does. And he always takes everything seriously. He dedicates his full body and emotions and expressions to the performance, and to see him act out certain things at the very end of the movie was impressive and brought a smile to my face. It's kind of like somebody from the horror community. It's kind of like casting Jamie Lee Curtis in a modern slasher. He's notorious for Scream and 13 Ghosts, so it's pretty cool to see him on screen to kind of pass the torch of horror to the new generation. The animatronics look great. I was expecting a lot of just mindless CGI, but no, I mean, looking at behind the scenes footage, they actually invested in getting costumes, and they had actors in there to work on the animatronic movements like RoboCop and Peter Weller. I was very impressed with everything. And again, I walked in not expecting much. This is a video game movie adaptation, and we know the track record when it comes to that. And again, what is the most recent one we had that was disappointing? Uncharted. I didn't even go watch it because I was just displeased with what I saw. This one, they were faithful to the fans. They were faithful to even to the YouTube community. I understand there were a couple of YouTubers that were in the film. I had no idea who they were. I just saw the audience erupt in applause and cheers when the waiter showed up. I'm like, who the hell is that? My son's like, it's MatPat. I'm like, who's he, a YouTuber? Oh, where's Markiplier, PewDiePie, and Jacksepticeye? Those are the ones I'm expecting to see. But the theater reacted in a fun way. There's even this other scene where Mike wakes up from a dream sequence and he sees "Come to Me" on the mirror. The audience erupted, and I'm like, I guess that means something, but then again, it's not made for me. But again, it reminded me of how I reacted to the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City trailer when I saw Itchy Tasty on the mirror. Oh yes! Itchy Tasty! So there you go. And the last piece I want to mention about this film that I loved is that it's a great entryway into horror. It reminded me of being a kid and going to the movies and seeing films that were PG that were pretty damn scary. Gremlins, Temple of Doom, Invasion from Mars, The Gate. And that's great for kids because, again, it teaches them that the world is not all that great. There are some scary things out there that they need to be cognizant of. And the 80s films, I feel, did that. The 90s films kind of stepped away, and then the 2000s forget about it. And I'm glad an entry-level horror movie is now made for modern audiences today. I think that's wonderful, and I'm glad to see the success that this film has had. I believe it's one of the top 3 grossing horror movies ever for the month of October, which says a lot considering we had a Halloween trilogy just last year. I look forward to the sequels, and again, I applaud the directors, I applaud the producers, everybody involved, even Blumhouse for taking the rights away from Warner Brothers and just making something that the fans have been wanting for almost 10 years. My daughter loved it. My son loved it. So again, I loved it as well. And I hope you enjoyed this review. Please click like below, leave some comments. Let me know what you think about if this is one of the best video game adaptations ever made. Again, I'd say it's in the top 3. Silent Hill is my number 1. But also subscribe if you haven't done so already. I would appreciate that. And thank you for watching, everybody. Please take care.